I never expected a wrong room would lead to a heart-stopping romance with a billionaire. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. One wrong step, one misplaced key, and my life spiraled into chaos. It felt like a slap to my chest. The air thick with anticipation. My heart raced, pounding in my ears as I pushed open the door, expecting the familiar surroundings of my friend's apartment. Instead, I was met with silk curtains fluttering in a breeze, dark mahogany furniture, and the faint scent of something intoxicating cologne. Wrapped in mystery, there he was. Tall, with tousled dark hair that brushed against his forehead, and eyes that shone like gems against the dim light. I stood frozen, my breath caught in my throat. This man was a stranger yet felt like an enigma I had to unravel. Who was he? The golden hour enveloped him, creating a halo that made my heart skip like a stone across water. I could literally feel my cheeks flush. My hands trembled, betraying the racing thoughts in my mind. Who are you? His voice was low, a rich baritone that hung in the air, thickening the suspense. I could smell the leather of his expensive briefcase, a hint of power and privilege lurking beneath his cool demeanor. The room seeped tension, a vault of unanswered questions. I stepped back, but something inside pushed me forward. What is he doing here? I had come to find solace after my mother's recent passing. I needed comfort, not this whirlwind. Rarely had I encountered someone who looked like they stepped straight out of a dream, and I, the mere girl who crashed into a billion-dollar fantasy. Am lost, I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. What a devastatingly dumb thing to say. His brow furrowed, tension shifting into curiosity. Apparently. Despite the precarious situation, there was a glimmer in his eyes that felt like an invitation, an unspoken question that lingered between us. I recalled stories of dangerous encounters, high-stakes intrigues, love wrapped in mystery. Was this an adventure or a trap? You shouldn't be here, he said, stepping closer. I smelled the rich cedarwood clinging to him, mixed with faint traces of another world. A life I didn't know. It felt both thrilling and suffocating. What if I never left? My knees felt weak. Was this fate or folly? My heart raced faster. I glanced around, the elegant room filled with shadows and whispers. This stunning, solitary stranger presented the choice of a lifetime. Daring to ask questions, but terrified of the answers. My fingers brushed against the edge of the door, a physical anchor in a storm. Would he let me walk away? Or was he the key to unlocking the secrets I desperately sought to escape? Before I could voice the turmoil bubbling inside, the door swung open behind me, and a man dressed in a crisp suit stepped in, surprise flickering across his face. What's going on here? He demanded, eyes darting between us. Alarm gripped my chest. Who was this man? Had I stumbled into something dark and shadowy? And more importantly, what did any of this mean for me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The suit-clad man's presence loomed over me, casting a shadow across the tension that filled the space. His piercing gaze swept from the stranger to me, assessing, as if trying to decode a puzzle with missing pieces. I could feel panic rising like bile in my throat. What was I doing here? My heart pounded, each beat a reminder of how lost I truly was. Who are you? The stranger demanded, stepping forward, his voice suddenly commanding. I flinched at the intensity, wishing I could dissolve into the ornate wooden floor beneath my feet. That I am just looking for, I stammered, my brain jumbling words in a frantic escape attempt. I had to leave, but something, a whispering voice deep within, urged me to stay. The man in the suit snorted, his eyes narrowed skeptically. You have the wrong apartment, obviously. Then his expression softened slightly, his demeanor shifting as if he had seen through my bewilderment and recognized the fear lurking within. "This is the penthouse of Derek St. James. You need to go." With a dismissive gesture, he turned his back on me, clearly ready to usher me out like I was nothing more than an inconvenience. "Wait," I blurted, instinctively reaching for the warmth and strength of the stranger beside me. Derek, a name that swirled in the air like a sweet melody but felt like a precarious cliff. He turned, surprise painted across his handsome face at my plea. "Maybe she does need a moment," Derek countered, his voice softened but firm. I turned to him, drawn in by the depth of his eyes, feeling like a moth flitting dangerously close to the flame. "Let her speak. She's clearly not a threat," he added, glancing at me, a blend of curiosity and concern threading through his expression. The suit-clad man glared, his tension palpable, but a subtle nod from Derek seemed to quell some of the fire igniting between them. "You have 5 minutes, he relented, folding his arms protectively across his chest, unwilling to fully release me to the unknown. "Thank you," I murmured, an odd mix of gratitude and fear washing over me. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just came to find solace in a place I thought was familiar." My throat tightened, the grief of my mother's passing still raw and bleeding within me. "I'm sorry," Derek's gaze softened further, the storm of concern in his eyes morphing into a quiet understanding. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said, his voice steady, piercing through the chaos swirling around us. "What brought you to my door?" Unsure how to explain everything, the chaos of my life since that day, the weight of my grief. I hesitated. But something in his demeanor felt trusting, safe. Perhaps he would be the one person to understand the knot within me. "I fled to get away. I thought I could find a piece of home here. I miss my mother." Silence fell between us, but in that stillness, I felt a connection ignite, a flame that flickered slowly but surely. The suit-clad man shifted uncomfortably, his annoyance clear but overshadowed by the palpable bond forming between Derek and me. "That I understand." Derek stepped closer, and the warmth radiating from him was grounding. "I lost my father recently." He hesitated, his usual cool gaze clouded with memories. "It's burdensome." There was a brief exchange of sadness, threading our stories together in a way that made this strange encounter feel less like a chance meeting and more like a discovery, finding another in the shadows of sorrow. Before I could voice my thoughts, the man in the suit cleared his throat, urgency creeping back into his voice. "Time is up. Miss, you need to leave now." The tension snapped back, each of us restrained by our circumstances, and in that moment, I felt the weight of choices pressing down upon me. But before I could find my voice amidst the confusion, Derek turned to me again, an exhale escaping his lips as if we were caught in a moment suspended in time. "You don't have to go just yet if you don't want to. But know this, you are welcome here, even if it's not what you expected." Just then, a loud crash jolted us all, echoing from somewhere deeper in the sprawling penthouse. A wave of panic washed through me as something felt distinctly wrong. Derek immediately shifted, the protector surfacing in his demeanor, but before I could catch my breath, the suit-clad man bolted past me, fear written across his face. That I turned to Derek, confusion and dread colliding within. What was that? The door swung open again, this time with more force, and in stepped a woman dressed in sleek black, her expression a beautiful mask of determination, yet something about her felt menacing. "We have to move, now," she commanded, scanning the room as if searching for unseen threats. Derek's eyes widened, and a flicker of dread coursed through him. "What's going on? An intruder?" Her lips pursed, but I caught a hint of panic behind her composed facade. "There are people closing in on us. We need to leave immediately." At that moment, reality crashed into me, heavy and unyielding. My brief moment of connection, of warmth, was being ripped away as danger loomed closer. I had stepped into a world far darker than I had anticipated, and there was no telling what would happen next, especially as my heart tangled complicity in this unfolding drama. Would I lose the only sliver of hope I found amid the chaos? I needed to make a choice, but as fear held my breath hostage, I realized my only option was to follow Derek into uncertainty, wherever it might lead. The surroundings blurred into a cacophony of panic, each heartbeat resounding like a drum in my ears. The suit-clad man, now a figure prioritizing flight over fraying threads of solidarity, darted into the hallway, leaving Derek and me against the encroaching threat of the woman in black. "Come on," Derek urged, pulling me toward the door as the woman surveyed the space for an escape route. I could feel the warmth of his hand grasping mine, and despite the rising tide of fear, something in his grip lingered, a silent promise in the chaos. As we spilled out into the hall, Derek's focus shifted to me, intense determination warring with concern. "Stay close. Whatever happens, don't let go of my hand." His voice, while urgent, wrapped around me like a safety net that I nodded, though my mind buzzed with questions. Why was this happening? What had drawn me here, only to land in a web of tension? As we ran, we could hear the echoes of hurried footsteps behind us. The luxurious penthouse was now a labyrinth of uncertainty, each corner we turned amplifying my instinctive fears. Still clutched to Derek's hand like a lifeline, I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the suit-clad man returning for a fight. Instead, it was the woman in black leading the way, navigating like a seasoned strategist through the turmoil. "This way," she commanded, her voice unwavering despite the perilous atmosphere. She led us down a narrow staircase, the dim lights casting eerie shadows on the walls, and just as I thought we might escape, a loud crash erupted from the upper floor. Distorted sounds of something breaking reverberated like a warning bell. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs, and I squeezed Derek's hand harder, feeling the pulse of our shared fear. "Why are they after you?" I whispered, my voice barely escaping as I tried to make sense of whatever had entangled Derek in this whirlwind. He glanced around sharply, checking for any threats, and although there was chaos in his green eyes, he softened his voice just enough for me to hear. "It's complicated. I'll explain later, I promise." The woman turned on her heel, stopping abruptly as we reached a door at the bottom of the staircase. "We need to go now. This leads to the basement parking garage." She unlocked the door with a practiced swipe, urgency etched across her face. "Well, get to my car." "Stay down." Before I could respond, she flung the door open, revealing a dimly lit expanse. The garage was expansive, but its silence only amplified the urgency of our mission. "Hurry," she hissed, already pulling out her phone. "No one can know we're here. They're monitoring everything." That we slipped inside, the sounds of our hurried breaths the only indication of our presence as we scuttled into the shadows. For a fleeting moment, the cacophony of the outside world faded. I found myself pressed against the smooth surface of a car, adrenaline thrumming like electric currents through my veins. "Why doesn't anyone just call the police?" I blurted, panic seeping through my voice, breaking the spell of quiet focus. "They wouldn't be helpful," she replied, her eyes darting around as if even the walls held threats. "There's more at stake than you know. They're too deep, too connected." She glanced back at us, revealing a flicker of vulnerability beneath her composed exterior. "I'm doing this for Derek. We can't involve outsiders, trust me." Derek stepped closer, his brow furrowed, the tension melding with the lingering aura of compassion within him. "You were right to want to find comfort, but now, we need to protect you. And me." The way he said those last words felt charged, an unspoken acknowledgement of our connection that I couldn't decipher amid the chaos. Suddenly, the sound of rapid footsteps echoed in the garage, growing ever closer. My heart sank, the reality of our situation seeping into my bones. "Get in," the woman commanded, holding the car door open wide. Derek pulled me with him, and I scrambled into the back seat, my breath hitching as he pressed himself in beside me. As the engine roared to life, the woman slammed the door and peeled out of the garage, the tires screeching against the polished floor. Outside, I could see shadows ricocheting off the lights spilling from the penthouse, figures circling like predators from a distant nightmare. "Where to?" she asked, eyes narrowed at the winding road ahead, her jaw set in determination. "Anywhere but here," Derek replied, his voice firm and steady while my mind reeled. What lay beyond this moment of escape? Uncertainty loomed around us, and yet an unexpected warmth blossomed in my chest, recognizing that Derek was right next to me, a steadfast presence amidst the tempest. As we sped away from the penthouse, the rumble of racing thoughts echoed with what I could no longer ignore. The connection burgeoned under pressure. Somewhere hidden beneath layers of fear lay a fragile thread woven into the fabric of my shattered world. But with danger trailing us like ominous shadows, I could only cling to hope, hoping we would outrun the menace that sought to bind us, hoping Derek's heart was a beacon for a future I now dared to imagine. But it remained a mere flicker of light, threatened to be snuffed out by the storm gathering on the horizon, and then, as we rounded a bend, a chilling revelation pierced the air there. Ahead, a barricade of vehicles loomed, a blockade set up as if anticipating our every move. The woman slammed on the brakes, and I felt dread coil in my stomach. Back. We have to turn back. She snapped, but the fear etched into Derek's features told me this was far from over. My hand trembled in his grasp, and the question hung thick between us. Would this unravel the bond we had begun to forge, or was it the catalyst for something deeper amidst the rising storm? Panic flooded the car as the screech of the brakes echoed like a death knell, reverberating within the confines of our little sanctuary. The woman in black cursed under her breath, her knuckles whitened against the steering wheel. "Derek, what do we do?" I asked, my voice tremulous as my gaze darted between the barricade ahead and him. Fear had a suffocating grip on my heart, squeezing tighter with each passing second. "Stay calm," he instructed, his own voice steadier than I felt. "If we can't go forward, we need to find another escape. Don't lose your head." I nodded, though my gut twisted in uncertainty. Everything had unraveled so quickly, the surreal silence of the garage and the adrenaline-fueled escape now leading us toward an inescapable trap. I thought of the shadows surrounding the penthouse, the chaos that had ensued, the sudden upheaval of my life. Now. The woman's voice echoed, cutting through the rising tide of panic. She threw the car into reverse faster than I could register. My heart raced as the world blurred past me out the back window, each passing moment feeling like a countdown to disaster. But as we careened backward, I caught sight of a figure stepping out from behind the barricade, a tall silhouette, bathed in light, yet cloaked in an unmistakable authority. My breath caught when recognition set in. It wasn't just any figure. It was the suit-clad man from the penthouse, his expression sharp and unforgiving as he gestured toward us. "Stop." He shouted, voice piercing through the fabric of my fear like a knife. "Shit," the woman said, spinning the steering wheel as she attempted to angle us away from the threat that loomed. "Derek, what do you know about him?" "He shouldn't be here." "Nothing good," he replied, his eyes flaring with a mix of dread and defiance. Cold sweat clung to my back as I realized our fates rested precariously within a storm of lies and secrets. "Just keep driving," I urged, fighting against the urge to retreat into the false safety of Derek's side, wanting to remain grounded, hoping we could circumvent the unyielding buzz of danger. Suddenly, something thudded against the trunk of our car, a loud slam that reverberated in my chest. The woman glanced out the side mirror, her face pale. "We've got company," she spat, panic sharpening her features. "Look out!" Derek shouted, already pulling me down, his arm wrapping protectively around my shoulders. Another thud echoed this time, the sound of feet pounding against the asphalt, desperate urgency practically spilling from the figures charging toward us. "Don't let them get close," she yelled, her voice strained at my heartbeat cascaded in sync with the chaos outside. Hands were grabbing for the door handles, frantic glances through windows punctuated by a frame of frightened faces, and I wished for another chance at normalcy, a chance I wasn't even sure I remembered how to grasp. As they surrounded us, one of them, a dark-haired woman, caught my eyes. There was something familiar about her, a flash of recognition that skirted the edges of memory, an intimacy I couldn't place. In that instant, the weight of the moment shifted. "Let her go," she screamed, and the urgency in her voice triggered an old, buried instinct, stirring a painful chord of empathy within me. Suddenly, fleeting snippets of a dream that hadn't yet settled struck as shards in my heart, memories tangled in confusion. The confrontation escalated, voices merging into an overwhelming clamor. I leaned closer to Derek, who remained steady despite the chaos. But I sensed the silent conversation passing between us, the fear, the yearning. My fingers shifted, intertwining with his, igniting a spark that pushed against the darkness outside. "Trust me," I whispered, feeling my heart urge him to believe it. And just when the situation felt doomed, I spotted movement on the periphery. A figure, a shadow moving with fluid grace, darting toward the blockade. My breath hitched, a strange mix of hope and dread swirled together, unsure of whether to succumb to despair or dare to allow a flicker of faith stop their coming. The woman in black screamed, her exasperation ringing through the frenzy. She threw the car into gear and swerved, attempting to squeeze through an opening barely wide enough to afford us an escape, but then came the loud sound of metal scraping against metal, a deafening clash as someone attempted to block our way, a clear message woven in hostility. I leaned forward, desperate to understand the unfolding chaos, hoping for clarity amidst the chaos. It was then that the dark-haired woman lunged forward, eyes burning with intention. "Stop. Please." For a heart-stopping moment, time hung as the world seemed to pause. Derek's grip tightened, both of us breathlessly pinned between the uproar outside and the treacherous mysteries within. And that was when realization struck, tangled threads of connection, hidden alliances, and unimaginable truths. Lines drawn against a canvas of deception that threatened ever more to unravel before us. The dark-haired woman's words emerged naturally as a plea, reminiscent of a past that suddenly surged back, the kind of memory that dances just out of reach until this moment gave it weight, meaning. "You don't understand what's happening," she cried. "They're not just after you, they're hunting all of us." A breath caught in my throat as it hit me. The dangerous game was more expansive than we anticipated, then everything we thought we understood stood endangered. A monumental storm awaited us, each wave more treacherous than the last, but already we were caught in its grip, and just as I opened my mouth to speak, to press for the truth that eluded us, the world around us fractured. Wet concrete erupted in chaos, and shadows melded into night, binding us all inescapably toward a fate I was just beginning to grasp, one underlined by the resonance of past lives, a destiny neither of us had chosen. In that critical heartbeat, we teetered on the brink of revelation, each moment stretching into eternity, and I could only cling to Derek as fear intertwined with something far more profound, knowing we were still on the precipice of an unyielding storm that lay just ahead. The air was thick with tension, the echoes of chaos swirling around us like a tempest, each pang of uncertainty tightening its grasp on my heart. I could feel Derek's silent dread resonating from him. We were intertwined in an unforgiving dance of desperation. Did the dark-haired woman mean we were all targets? Did this monstrous web of deceit extend beyond our immediate fears? "Listen to her," Derek urged, peering intensely at the woman, vulnerability evident in the depths of his gaze. "What do you know?" But the voice that emerged was not the dark-haired woman's. It belonged to the woman in black, holding firmly to the steering wheel, her knuckles pale against the leather. "We don't have time for this," she shouted, blending fear with a frantic sense of resolve. The vulnerability in her voice matched the tempered steel of her expression, twirling a tempest of complexity I struggled to grasp. The grim silhouettes outside surrounded us, their faces stark against the fading light. It appeared they shared a connection, wave after wave of tension breaking down barriers, but I felt the strange, magnetic pull toward the dark-haired woman. Something deeper called to me, igniting a spark of anguished familiarity, a fire I yearned to understand more than I feared. "Wait!" I cried out, my voice breaking through the cacophony, surprising us all. "If you're in danger too, then we need to work together." Derek shot me a look of warning, but I held my ground, my heart pounding with an urgency I hoped would guide us through the shadows. In that moment, an unusual calm nestled within me, the fear tempered by an instinctive understanding that our shared fates intertwined. The dark-haired woman blinked back, tears, an emotional gravity seeping into her expression. "You don't understand what they're capable of." This, she gestured toward the growing pack like a wounded beast. "This has been brewing for years. Not every monster is your enemy," the woman in black countered, her voice harsh, yet threaded with grief. Her words struck close to a truth I'd long hidden, that darkness can often wear familiar masks, reshaping our perception of trust. Derek's grip on my shoulder tightened as he wrestled with emotions I could barely decipher. Finally, he spoke, voice unwavering. "If we're going to collaborate, we must agree on a plan. No bare edges." Just as hope flickered cautiously at the edges of our crumbling certainty, the world outside exploded metallic clangs, like a devastating symphony heralding an end. The attackers had found us, clawing at the slick sides of our car while the woman in black slammed her foot onto the gas. The sudden jolt thrust us into motion, and in those precious moments, I glimpsed the unyielding expressions on the attackers' faces: anger, sorrow, desperation. Were they only enemies, or were they also victims in a story far greater than the one we understood? The lines between us blurred in the chaos. Who were we fighting, and more importantly, why? As we tore away from impending doom, the varying beats of our hearts became synchronized, our breaths hitching in terrified rhythm. I looked around at the faces beside Meth woman in black, fierce and guarded, the dark-haired woman, a beacon of vulnerability, and Derek, reliable and steadfast amidst chaos. But just as our fear began to evolve into a unified resolve, a sudden eruption of pain seized my wrist. I glanced down to find the dark-haired woman gripping me, her eyes wide with intent. "You have to listen. They want something, someone you know, someone who can change everything." That my pulse quickened as thoughts spiraled. Questions leaped to the forefront of my consciousness but remained unanswered, hovering like a haunting whisper. I caught Derek's gaze, filled with the tempest of emotions between us, and something deeper kindled, an urgent yearning mingled with dread. "If we can figure out who they're truly targeting," Derek began, his voice almost soft, tentative. But his gaze drifted toward the dark-haired woman, and something shifted. The air thickened between us, and I could sense a revelation lingering, just out of reach. Suddenly, the woman in black swerved sharply, pulling us into the narrow mouth of an alley lined with shadow. The cacophony of pursuit eased. My heart thudded against my ribs, reverberating with disbelief and hope, feeling vulnerable yet strangely alive, now. The dark-haired woman shouted, her urgency electrifying us all. "We have to keep moving before they regroup." As we shot further into the darkness, an unexpected warmth tightened in my chest, strange yet exhilarating. I could feel the threads of fate weaving me further into the tapestry of their lives. The adrenaline was intoxicating, raising fears but also a burgeoning sense of camaraderie. But just as laughter bloomed in the pit of my stomach, a flash of dread unfurled. A sudden memory surfaced, a scene from the past that splintered sharply through my bewilderment. "Wait. What did you mean?" I exclaimed, my voice trembling but resolute. "What do you know about someone we know? What did you mean by a change?" The dark-haired woman's expression faltered, her lips quivering with uncertainty as if she were navigating a sea of emotions. "You shouldn't be involved, but it's already too late," she whispered, the weight of those words settling over us like a shroud, and in that pivotal moment, the world caught its breath around us. The shadows shifted, and I felt the gravity of a secret threatening to uproot everything I had taken for granted. The truth, it seemed, was no longer within grasp. It lay in wait, coiled, a promise of revelations that could challenge our very existence, and then, a sudden realization dawned, piercing through the confusion like piercing light. I hesitated as the thought curled around the edges of my mind, casting a long shadow. Could it be that I had always known the answer, buried deep beneath fears and uncertainties? In that heartbeat, it became clear we were standing on the brink of an impending storm, and whatever lay ahead was bound to reshape everything we ever thought we comprehended. But before I could voice the revelation swirling in my mind, the woman in black cut through the static with a shattering remark, her voice trembling, whispering a name that made my heart stop. "Redirect the course to the penthouse," she said, determination dancing with trepidation. And the world around me shattered once again, caught in the tempest of unsaid truths, unfulfilled promises, and the dawning fear of fates colliding, drawing me back into the heart of the game I suddenly realized I had always been a part of. A chill seeped into my bones as the name echoed in the confines of our car, slicing through the tension like a sharpened blade. The penthouse. My mind raced, flipping through images that tangled into madness: luxurious parties, endless laughter, the kind of life people envied. But what did it mean now? In that world of glitz and glamour, was it possible that something darker lurked at its foundation? "No," I whispered, my heart plummeting. The familiarity of the penthouse was pulsing at the edges of my memory, but I fought to push it away. "We can't go there. Not now." Derek's brows knitted together, a hot wave of confusion washing over him. "Why not?" he asked, though his facial expression told me he was already connecting the threads I would not voice. Because it's where everything changed," I said, each word feeling like a lead weight, dragging me deeper into shadow. "That's where who's waiting for us?" The dark-haired woman inserted herself, her voice trembling under the weight of urgency. Her eyes flickered between ours, and I could almost taste the fear intermingled with curiosity. The woman in black remained resolute, her fingers moving deftly to maneuver the car around the tight corners, her gaze fixed firmly ahead. "The people after us undoubtedly have the advantages of surveillance. We can't have them tracking us." She gritted her teeth, determination blazing with a kind of fervor that ignited a reluctant admiration within me. "But there's too much at stake," I countered, my voice rising with each word. "You don't know what could happen if we get too close. It's a web I refuse to be tangled in again." "Then you do understand. You've been there." The dark-haired woman's voice dropped, becoming almost intimate, compelling me to confront my past. That's why we need you. You know how to navigate these shadows. That I closed my eyes, the memories surging like cruel waves, the betrayal, the heartache, the sense of inevitability tethered to the life I once had. Each fleeting thought felt like a pinprick to my heart, digging deep into buried sorrow. And yet, when I cracked my eyes open, I saw both women looking at me, each with a different plea shimmering in their gazes, vulnerability and desperation, hope and fear. Derek shifted next to me, his presence an anchoring force. We need to trust each other if we want any chance of survival, he spoke, drawing strength from the depths of his own worries, reinforcing the bond forged between us amidst uncertainty. But in that moment of fragile unity, dread strained the air as we drifted around one last corner and a figure materialized at the end of the alley. A man, a hulking silhouette, dark and foreboding, loomed in the dim light, eyes glinting like obsidian. The adrenaline surged as a primal instinct took over. We were caught once more in the shadows. Get down! The woman in black yelled, her voice slicing through my stupor. I barely had time to react before the world exploded in noise, shouts echoing, cars screeching, the staccato of footsteps jagged against the ground. The man lunged toward us, his intentions clear as he pulled something glimmering from his waist. Fear twisted inside me like a fraying cord, threatening to unravel into panic, yet in the thick of chaos, the dark-haired woman screamed, "We can't go back. We're not alone." With startling clarity, she reached for something tucked beneath her coat. A small device, perhaps? But before I could grasp its significance, she hurled it in the man's direction. The metallic object arced through the air with an unsettling grace before bursting into a blinding flash of light. Pulses of light and sound disoriented everyone, including Derek and me, but that chaos also served as an opportunity. The woman in black seized it, slamming the car into reverse, evading the impending disaster. "Keep moving. Don't look back." The intensity of that moment electrified the air, pushing me forward. My attention was drawn back to the dark-haired woman, her expression fierce and unyielding as we sped away. A quiet resolve emanated as she turned toward me, her face illuminated by the glow of the streetlights streaming in through the windows. "You can't hide from this," she urged, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "You've already lost too much to let fear paralyze you. Just accept what this means and let us help you understand." "Understanding comes with pain," I shot back, unwilling to surrender so easily to the memories swirling before me. "It exposes us in ways we might not be ready for," but her gaze pulsed with a unique understanding, each word resonating so deeply that it sent shockwaves through my heart. "Sometimes pain is a path to clarity." When our eyes locked, an unexpected warmth swelled within me, displacing the fear that clung to my bones. Maybe, just maybe, there was a flicker of light in this shadow-laden journey, a way forward blossoming in the fragments of my past and present colliding. While the throbbing adrenaline danced through my veins, dread still clawed at the edges of my thoughts. With each beat of silence that followed the chaos, a truth shimmered just below the surface, pulling me toward uncharted waters. What awaited us at the penthouse? A confrontation with echoes of memories long laid to rest, or the revelation of deeper connections intertwined in destinies far more complex than I had dared to fathom? Just as I opened my mouth to voice those swirling thoughts, an unexpected jolt ricocheted through the car. We had come to a sudden halt. Heart racing, I turned only to find the woman in black's fierce gaze in the rearview mirror, locking onto something or someone emerging from the shadows behind us. A figure stepped into the light, startlingly familiar, sending a chill racing down my spine. Nathan, the embodiment of my forgotten world. Was this the moment fate had woven into our tangled lives, or the ultimate betrayal I always feared? The storm was arriving, and so was the truth I had run from for far too long. The air hung heavy, thick with unspoken words and rising dread. Nathan stood there, his presence a living reminder of all I had wanted to escape. My heart wrenched, caught between the past that loomed like a dark cloud and the raw uncertainty of what lay ahead. Derek's hand gripped my arm tightly, grounding me in this moment, yet the reverberations of old memories threatened to pull me under. "Nathan," I whispered, disbelief flickering in my chest. The name tasted foreign yet achingly familiar, as if it stirred echoes from the depths of my soul. I could see the edge of surprise on his face. It was a fragile opening in a wall built on silence and hurt that he stepped into the light, each stride cautious, betraying the tension that hung between us. "I was looking for you," he said, his voice steady, though beneath it, I detected the urgency of desperation. I didn't know you were here. Looking for me? Or after me? I shot back, my pulse thrumming in my ears. The intersection of old love and new fear felt like stepping onto a tightrope, balancing between reconciliation and unresolved pain. Derek let go of my arm, hesitant but protective, his eyes darting between us. A silent understanding passed between us. He would let me navigate this moment, whatever shape it might take. I appreciated it but felt a wave of grief wash over me. Why did love come entangled with so many complexities? Nathan stepped closer, his expression softening, as if he could see my turmoil. There are things you don't understand, things I never got the chance to explain, he began, but the weight of his words trailed off in the charged silence that enveloped us. What is there to explain? You left. You walked away when I needed you most. Raw emotion bubbled up, and I fought to quell it, tears pricking at the corners of my vision. And now? Are you here to rescue me from what you helped create? Please, just listen. I can help you, but we need to confront this together. The danger isn't just confined to the shadows, it followed me, too. He gestured back toward the echoes we had just escaped. They want us both. Dread settled in my chest as the reality began to crystallize. The threat we had faced moments ago was more serious than just shadows. Somehow, Nathan had become part of this tangled web, and the thought knotted my stomach. And why should I trust you again? Last I checked, trust was a luxury you took with you when you left, I argued, each word dripping with the bitterness that had aged within me. It isn't about trust, not anymore, it's about survival, he replied, urgency seeping into every syllable. The two of you are caught in something bigger than any one of us. I can help you understand what you're facing. Please, just give me a chance. Before I could respond, the woman in black leaned toward me, her unusual calmness cutting through the tension. There's something to consider here, she said, her dark eyes assessing the unfolding scene. If Nathan's involved, we need to know which side he's on. He could be a threat or an ally, but we can't ignore the connection between you. My heart raced as I considered her words. It felt as though I was trapped in a dream where reality twisted upon itself. On one hand, the chasm of betrayal ran deep, while on the other hand, the remnants of love clung to life, vibrant but fragile. Just trust me at least until we can regroup, Nathan implored, his voice dropping, vulnerable once more. I swear I never meant to hurt you. No more broken promises, I retorted, shaking my head as I took a step back. I refuse to lose myself again in the wake of your choices. A heavy silence settled as Derek finally broke in, his tone resolute. Then what's our play here? We can't just stand around in the open. If they know you're here, Nathan, they'll come for you. Without warning, the moment was shattered by the blaring sirens in the distance, a cacophony drawing closer with every tick of the clock. The momentary flicker of hope I had held onto was suddenly overshadowed by the looming reality that backup was arriving, those determined to track us down. Nathan turned, shifting into an instinctive stance as the color drained from his face, realization dawning with shocking weight. We need to move, now. He shouted, panic edging into his voice. The woman in black swung into action, starting the car again, but my thoughts ricocheted wildly between past and present. Hope flickered tenuously, woven tightly with an anxiety that wouldn't let go. Where are we going? I asked as the tension surged between us, a shift I could hardly interpret. Somewhere safe. Question is, will we be found? Will we be running forever? Nathan's voice trembled with urgency, a deep-seated truth surfacing, stripping away every pretense, yet in that charged moment, as I peered back at the shadows tumbling closer in the rearview mirror, uncertainty blanketed me like a shroud. No clearer than before, the truth hovered tantalizingly just out of reach. Nathan was here, but was his return meaning a rekindled chance, or a devilish ploy intricately interlaced with the danger encroaching upon us? As the roar of sirens erupted, I gripped the edge of my seat, adrenaline blazing a trail as I prepared for whatever awaited us in the far-off distance of an uncertain fate. The storm at the penthouse was no longer just about memories, but perhaps a reckoning that would change everything. For a convergence of love, loss, and choices made long ago now circling like vultures overhead. The screeching of tires and wailing sirens filled the air as we careened down the asphalt. I could feel the weight of Derek's look, filled with protective fear, settle on my back like a heavy cloak. He had stepped forward through the quagmire of my past without hesitation, and I was painfully aware of the turbulence we now hurtled into together. Fired by a tempest of emotions, my heartbeats synced to the rhythm of chaos unfolding. Take the next left. Nathan directed, and the woman in black broke free of my daze, swerving with an agility that was both terrifying and impressive. I was a mere passenger in this wild universe, my mind racing as my heart pounded. With each twist and turn, I sought clarity among the storm that had churned my thoughts into a turbulent mess. Trust felt like a fragile glass ball held tightly in my palm, and I feared even the slightest breath could shatter it. Nathan was there, his presence rekindled the ghost of a love I had thought lost, but the jagged edges of my memory stabbed at my resolve. Can you tell me what is happening? I demanded, my voice strained, barely above a whisper as I fought against the tumultuous swell of panic. You keep talking about danger, but I need to understand. Nathan turned to me, and for a brief moment, all the cool bravado evaporated, revealing a boy beneath the shattered man I'd known. I will explain, I promise, he said urgently, and there was a flicker of sincerity in his tired eyes. But first, I need you safe. Give me that, and then I will erase the shadows between us. No more secrets. I swear. The car pitched to the left sharply, rattling me against my seatbelt, forcing me to focus on the here and now as we barreled further into the unknown. Yet, I couldn't shake the doubting voice in my head, whispering that hope was a futile gamble. Do you think it's over? Derek's voice broke through the chaos, and he turned in his seat, his eyes fixed on Nathan with unsettling intensity. We dived down this rabbit hole, and, if you're lying, I'm not lying. Nathan snapped, desperate and raw. You both have to believe Metis isn't just about us anymore. If they find out, none of us will make it. Our fates are entwined, whether you like it or not. That a taut silence enveloped us, the reality of what lay ahead coming into sharper focus. The promise of safety felt tenebrous, something I could grasp only if I let myself believe. Each breath was laborious as cuffed hope entwined with fear, weighing me down like a lead anchor. As we veered onto a quieter street, the blaring sirens faded to a soft hum in the distance. The woman in black kept her eyes locked on the road ahead, unfazed by the chaos, perhaps embodying a strength I yearned for but lacked in this moment. Before I could fully wrap my mind around the layers of this situation, Nathan leaned in closer, his voice lowering. There's a safe house we need to reach. It's been a sanctuary for those who've walked this path. You'll be safe there, I promise. I wanted to believe him, wanted to hear his words as a balm for my frayed nerves, but doubt clawed at my heart. And then what? I whispered, my voice trembling. We unravel this together? Or are you just asking me to trust you again, while shadows loom with bitter intent? In that instant, the weight of his gaze weighed heavy upon me, and I felt something fragile shifting within, a soft flicker of connection that both frightened and fascinated me. I had once loved Nathan. Was it possible to disentangle all that had come between us? The remnants of the past felt like an anchor tethering me to pain, yet this new danger encircled and forced me to consider choices I would have avoided in calmer times. Just let me prove to you that I want to fight for this. For us, he said, his voice a mere whisper against the relentless cityscape swirling beyond the windows. But first, we have to get through this. Suddenly, an abrupt lurch sent me crashing against my seat, and Derek shot forward, all instincts. What the? His exclamation cut through the atmosphere as the dark figure of a black SUV emerged from nowhere, barreling toward us. Hold on! The woman in black shouted, slamming her foot on the accelerator. The engine roared angrily as we surged ahead, the thumping of my heart matching its rhythm. Instinct took over as fear coursed through my veins. Nathan's presence was both a comfort and a danger, and it made me realize our situation had escalated beyond our control. The night was veiled with ominous uncertainty, tinged with a sense of impending chaos. We took another corner, but the SUV followed, relentless in its determination. My breath caught, and dread coiled tighter around my heart, a visceral reminder that our troubles were granting no favors. Derek, hold on! Nathan yelled, his voice ringed with urgency. We need to pull into the warehouse on the right. As we veered dangerously into the entryway of a darkened parking lot, my heart trembled with the knowledge that safety was fleeting, a condition tethered to choice. In this world of shadows, nothing was assured. Betrayal lurked, and truth remained elusive. As we skidded to a stop, the tension crackled around us as Nathan fumbled for his phone, desperately trying to catch our breath beneath the overwhelming weight of uncertainty. "Stay low," he whispers, his eyes locked on the rearview mirror, understanding our predicament lay just beyond. And then it unfolded. A figure emerged from the foggy depths of night, a stranger stepping out from the SUV with an air of familiarity that sent ice sliding down my spine. The moment froze, and for one insistent heartbeat, the complexities of yesterday since lamented slipped away, eclipsed by the realization that I didn't know where I stood anymore, whose side I was on. 100 possible endings flashed through my mind, but the shock of recognition blasted through the silence like a gunshot. I hadn't expected a wrong room would lead to heart-stopping revelations. As the figure drew closer, a bitter truth surfaced, unraveling everything I thought I knew. The tension in the air was palpable, a thick fog of uncertainty that mingled with my fear, tightening its grip with every passing moment. As the figure approached, shadowed and shrouded in threat, a chasm of memories opened wide beneath my feet, threatening to swallow me whole. "Who is that?" I gasped, my voice barely a whisper, as if saying it aloud would summon the worst of my nightmares to life. Derek's low growl vibrated in my ears, a primal warning echoing my own trepidation. Nathan's face morphed into one of grim determination, eclipsing the flicker of hurt I had seen moments earlier. "That's James," Nathan asserted, desperation infusing his tone, a mix of resignation and regret. "We need to keep quiet, he can't know we're here." James. The name crashed over me like a wave, unearthed from the sandbanks of my mind, rushing back with serrated edges and pain from a life once lived. He had belonged to another world, one I had desperately tried to escape. Just as I was getting lost in my thoughts, a danger emerged in his stride. He was no longer the spirited boy I once cherished, but a man worn by time and tainted circumstances. "What the hell is he doing here?" I breathed, an urgency to hide overtaking me, yet there was an undeniable pull dating as far back as we had once stood together in the sunlight, sharing dreams and secrets. Nathan clenched his jaw, his eyes flickering to the rearview mirror again. "This isn't his doing. Not any longer. I swear it to you." His voice caught in the astronaut's void between hope and despair, fraying at the edges like an unraveling thread. "Not his doing?" I practically scoffed, adrenaline sharpening my words, anger coiling tightly in my chest. "You don't understand," nearly destroyed me. I shifted in my seat, the growling engine beneath us translating my fighting spirit as if we were our own entity, struggling against the overwhelming force of fate. "Yes, and now he's a target," Nathan insisted, tension rippling through him as he raked a hand through his hair, revealing the boy hiding behind the perilous facade. Not every enemy is easy to see. A fierce silence hung over us like the subtle press of lips to skin, brewing in the air thick enough to shatter. The SUV had parked at an awkward angle just beyond the entrance, and as James continued walking toward us, time elongated in a painful spiral, twisting the threads of past and present. "Stay down," Derek muttered as he pursed his lips into a taut line, undoubtedly strategizing as a fierce protector would. Yet my resolve faltered, caught between the hailstorm of emotions battling within me. "Does he know?" I asked, more to myself than the others, my breath catching in my throat. Could I face the truth of past hurts and lingering feelings, suspended halfway between love and loathing? James' presence sent tremors coursing through me, an electric shockwave forcefully unearthed alongside fond and torturous memories. His figure became a specter among shadows, cloaked, and while he appeared robust and confident, there was an underlying current of vulnerability that grasped at the threads of empathy I thought long buried. Evidently unfazed by my inner turmoil, Nathan's voice brought me back to reality. "We can't let him see us," he repeated, each word dripping with urgency. But even as he urged silence, a flicker of something deeper lingered in the air, a flickering thread connecting us all, whether we liked it or not. "That I can't just hide from him," I uttered, astonished at the weight of a statement I never expected to vocalize. I was unmoored, adrift in seasick nostalgia, and a rebellious urge surged within me to confront the truth beneath the surface. "Why?" Nathan's eyes bore into mine, an unyielding plea for understanding, begging me not to indulge in the flames of my past. "Because he was not who you thought he was? Because he hurt you?" Maybe. I hesitated, fragments of my heart crumbling into embers of fury that flickered with potential hope. "But maybe he wasn't all bad either." "Doesn't everyone deserve?" "Not him," Derek interjected, his voice laced with a protective edge that widened the gulf between us. "Please, just stay down," but with each hesitation, tension strained against the air. I was chasing ghosts in a maze of memories. What if he has information we need? What if he can help? The emotional waves surged, threatening to drag me beneath their pull. And then, like a rubber band finally snapping, clarity broke through the haze. Without giving my heart a chance to escape, I swung open the door and stepped into the uncertainty of the night. I didn't know whose side I stood on anymore, but I knew one thing: I had to see James, to hear the truth from his lips, even if it threatened to tear apart every stitch holding together the fragile fabric of my sanity. As I detached myself from the safety of the car, Nathan's warning fell upon deaf ears. I felt the world tilt, along with the dangerous tides of my own heart, as every risk surged within me, daring me to reclaim the shards of my past, ready to weave a new story from the remnants still glowing with possibility. "Wait." Nathan's voice broke through the din of my resolve, but it fell short against the silhouette of familiarity taking shape. As I turned to face the man who haunted my nights and bid farewell to the dreams that tethered us, a ripple of mischief tinged the air. Just before James reached me, an unexpected glint of recognition appeared in his eyes, one that echoed faintly with an unspoken question of what had once been, and I wondered if my courage would unravel our tangled destinies or bind them tighter in ways I couldn't yet imagine. Then, in the conspicuous silence of the night, a new revelation sliced through the chaos of emotions, blowing away the fog. With one shared look, I felt the heavy weight of the past meet the hopeful resolution of our present. However, the haunting shadow of an unseen enemy lingered close, one whose identity still loomed above us like a dark cloud ready to erupt, threatening our tenuous connection, as well as the secrets we would still need to navigate. And just as my heart began to steady, a distant echo of sirens surged once more, cutting the night. A chilling reminder that it wasn't just our pasts converging but a future tangled with danger, its path uncertain and riddled with unexpectedly heart-stopping revelations. As I locked eyes with James, memories flooded back, a whirlpool of scent and sound, laughter mingled with tears. The fleeting moments we once shared hung delicately between us, a fragile reminder of innocence lost. More than anger or resentment, an aching confusion churned deep within my chest. "What are you doing here?" I gasped, my voice barely recognizable, betraying a mix of disbelief and something far more profound. That he took a cautious step closer, the shadows casting a brooding aura around him. "I came for you. I had to find you before it was too late." The urgency echoed in his voice, a desperate plea that tugged at buried emotions. Too late for what? My heart raced, a fierce mixture of hope and caution. "You have no idea what I've been through. What you put me through." "I know," he said softly, holding my gaze. "But trust me, it's not just about us anymore. There are threats looming that are bigger than our past." The weight of his words sank in, swelling the knot within me. As if sensing the tension between James and me, the woman in black leaned forward in the driver's seat, her eyes blazing with intensity. "Keep your voices down. He'll be looking for us everywhere." "Who is they?" Derek cut through the tension, stepping forward, protective and formidable. "Are you involved with them?" James raised his hands, and despite his defiance, a flicker of vulnerability crossed his features. "I've only been trying to survive, just like you. They're not just after you, they're coming for everyone who knows you. My heart skipped, caught between the web of secrets threatening to unravel us all. James shifted uncomfortably, then gestured to the SUV behind him, where dark shapes loomed, waiting like predators in the night. "Most of them don't even know the full story. They think you're someone important. They think you hold the key. Key to what?" I demanded, a cocktail of defiance and fear coursing through my veins. "Your mother's legacy." The admission hung in the air, charged and heavy, twisting the knife of longing I had buried deep since her passing. "She never told you, did she?" The truth about our families. Dread swept over me, reminding me of the unanswered questions that haunted my past. The struggles my mother endured, the chilling whispers of her secrets. My breath felt leaden as fear twisted into something sharper. "What are you talking about?" I pressed, trembling at the precipice of discovery. "Your mother was involved in something bigger. Something dangerous," he explained, his voice low and earnest. "And they know you're her daughter. They want you to unlock what she left behind." A million thoughts swirled in my mind, a convergence of grief, anger, love, a kaleidoscope of emotions. But one thing pierced through the chaos as I locked eyes with Derek. If it were true, if I were a target because of my mother's past, then I was standing at the brink of awakening something far more profound than fear. That we need to leave, the woman in black interjected, urgency tinging her voice. They're close. But I hesitated, weighing the delicate thread of my heart against the weight of my history. I finally turned back to Nathan, who stood only a step away, and in that moment, vulnerability stretched across both our faces. He needed my trust too, but could I give it to him amidst the storm that wrapped around both our pasts? "I'm with you," I heard myself promise, though my heart battled against uncertainty. Nathan's hand found mine, a firm grip that flickered with warmth. In that moment, a deeper understanding forged between USA pact, echoing promises forgotten yet still igniting embers beneath the ashes. As we turned our backs on the past, stepping away from the weight of what should have been and into the unknown shadows ahead, I felt a transformation begin to unfurl within me. A tender connection surged between Derek and me, pulling us toward an unforgiving brightness that glimmered in the shadows. "Let's go," I said, anchoring my resolve, my voice barely a whisper as we climbed back into the car. Together, we face whatever comes next. With a roaring engine, we pulled away from the haunting echoes of familiar pain. James lingered in the distance, but his presence settled into the fabric of our unfolding narrative. The road stretched out before us, murky and uncertain, swirling with threats yet unexplored, and just when I thought I could breathe, a prickle of danger descended as the SUV suddenly roared back to life, its headlights illuminating the darkness. My stomach knotted, my heart quickened. "They were coming for us, hold on," the woman shouted, and the car surged forward, shattering the silence that followed us like a lingering ghost. As we sped away from the weight of uncertainty, clarity swelled within. Blinding truths I had uncovered ignited a fierce determination to reclaim what had long been cast aside. My mother's legacy intertwined with my own choices, and the horizon ahead glittered with possibilities I had never dared to imagine. I and the space between heartbeats, we were fading into the night, all of us tethered by fate's fateful hand, stepping into a future where we could forge our paths. And in that moment, I finally understood that our pasts didn't have to bind us, and whatever chaos awaited, we could face it together. As the city lights blurred behind us, I turned my gaze back toward the road ahead. Together, we will write a new story, one built on the truths we dare to uncover.